Is this the most underrated bike in motocross history? Today I'm going to be making my case for the awesome Suzuki RM85 to enter the Motocross Hall of Fame. There are many machines from dirt bike history that are linked with greatness and have received many accolades for playing their part in the development of our great sport. And we featured quite a few of those bikes on 999 Laser in the past, from the little PW50 and the thumping YZ400 to the first Japanese two-strokes and the super exotic factory bikes from the 1980s like the RC500. Whether you think it was for good or for bad, all of those bikes have helped elevate, change and evolve our sport, and they have received plenty of praise for it. But in my opinion, there's one little machine that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame alongside of the bikes I've already mentioned, but we feel like it often gets overlooked. It's a bike that has played a major part in the success of some of the greatest riders we've ever seen. It's a bike that still turns heads to this day. It's won world championships, it's won AMA national titles, and it's propelled future legends into absolute greatness. It's of course the Suzuki RM85. The legacy of this little pocket rocket dates all the way back to 1973 when Suzuki released the TM75, which was their first machine for kids. But that model was swiftly replaced. In 1977, Suzuki unveiled the first RM80. Suzuki called this the perfect entry-level machine. It was a rudimentary air-cooled twin-shock bike, but kids back in 1977 could not believe their luck. This thing looked pretty similar to the monsters that they saw Da Costa and Robert winning Grand Prix on. The Suzuki RM80 ran for 25 years and it went through some significant changes in that time. In its first few years the bike was air-cooled, but in 1983 a liquid cooling system was implemented. 3 years later in 1986 the bike gained more horsepower, there was a new frame and there was a disc brake up the front. In the mid-90s, Suzuki introduced the RM80L, which was the big-wheeled version with an extended swing arm and forks. This dramatically improved handling and stability and helped Suzuki riders get a leg up over the competition. In 2002, to comply with the new FIM regulations, the RM80 gained an extra 5cc to become the RM85, which was the bike that I remember from my childhood. This model was also the first bike in its class to run upside down forks. Unlike the YZ85 and the CR85 back in the day, the RM did run a power valve, which helped make it a serious race weapon for kids of the era before the Austrian wave swept through the youth ranks. So the RM80, RM85 has a long history, so that means that plenty of riders over the years must have got their start on the yellow machine. This type of longevity and impact is definitely something that we have to consider when thinking about adding a machine to the Motocross Hall of Fame. But for me, probably the main thing I consider is the race winning prestige, the championship pedigree. Who rode the machine and how successful was that partnership? Where did this bike catapult that rider onto next? Well, the list of riders that learnt their trade on the RM85 is impressive to say the least. I mean, this list is probably enough to convince me to add this bike to the Hall of Fame alone. This list not only tells us that this bike was capable of winning races and championships, but also that Suzuki were pretty well committed to helping nurture the next generation of motocross superstars. Probably the most iconic Suzuki mini-cycle racer ever was of course Travis Pastrana. He won multiple Loretta Lynn's titles in the 90s on an RM80. Another iconic Suzuki kid was Ken Roczen. He won the 2007 85cc World Championship for the brand and then went on to burst onto the GP scene for Suzuki a couple of years later. So those are the two obvious ones, but when you look back through the history books, it's pretty surprising to see how many greats actually got their start on Suzukis in their 85 days. For example, most people know Jeffrey Hurlings as a lifelong KTM athlete, which is true at the Grand Prix level. But the Bullet actually won the 2008 85cc World Championship on board a yellow machine. The same goes for Eli Tomac. He burst onto the pro scene on board a Geico Honda, but he'd actually been riding Suzukis throughout his amateur career. He won gold at Loretta Lynn's in 2006 on board an RM85. Actually, 2006 was an all-time year for Suzuki at the ranch. Like I said, Tomac won a championship and Jason Anderson was second behind him. Blake Wharton won a championship and so did Jesse Nelson, all on board RM85s. So the 2006 RM85 must have been damn good. And the current fastest man on the planet, Jet Lawrence, also got his start on an RM85 as well. When the Lawrence family moved from Australia over to Europe, they were signed to Suzuki under the guidance of Stefan Everts. Hunter rode the 250F and young Jet was riding the RM85 at European Championship events. There's actually some awesome footage of Jet on his Suzuki racing against Kader Wolf, who was on a KTM at that time. And of course, we cannot forget friend of the channel, Stephen Clark, who won the 2005 85cc World Championship on board an RM85. In fact, up until 2024 and Levi Townley, Suzuki were the only non-Austrian brand to ever win the 85cc World Championship. So how about that for championship pedigree? Despite that championship success on both sides of the pond, I think it's fair to say that the Suzuki RM85 was still overlooked by moto parents and kids back in my day. I mean, I was graduating onto an 85 in 2007, and you would have thought that we would have looked at the likes of Clarkey and Tomac dominating on an RM85, and we would have been influenced by that. But it just wasn't the case. I would say when I was in the 85s, 95% of the field were riding orange, with the first few brave souls trying out the new Honda 150. By this point in about 2007, Suzuki had pretty much stopped developing the RM85, so I didn't really race against many of these bikes. But I do remember the ones I did race against disappearing off into the distance. James Dunn was damn quick on one of these bikes. So KTM were definitely king of the class back in my day, but in the right hands, this little thing was a genuine little Japanese samurai sword. So let's find out what made it so special. I've never actually ridden one, so I'm going to put that right today. I think this will be the final decider of whether or not we should put the Suzuki RM85 into the Motocross Hall of Fame. Let's go. So you can see my pride and joy here, my RM85. We've stuck some new graphics on from our friends at Backyard Designs. You see they've put our two sponsor logos on the back here, Pewterline and 24MX. Of course, RM85s running MX9 two-stroke oil as the premix. We've also had to top up the coolant once today as well, so we always keep some coolant in the van. So be sure to check out Pewterline next time you need to restock on your motorcycle oils, lubricants, cleaning products. Also, big thanks as always goes to 24MX. You can see the bikes on the Pro Works stand here. 24MX have you covered for all of your dirt bike hard parts, accessories and so much more. They've got a good deal on the 24MX pop-up tents at the moment, so be sure to check out the link in the description down below to see that. As always, a big thanks goes to our channel sponsors for supporting what we do. Ah!
Here I am then, on board the RM85. I'm making this a bit of a habit, aren't I? Riding little kids' bikes. Old kids' bikes. Why not? This is fun. I'm still a bit scared to do the jumps on this, but I'm definitely a bit braver than I was on the KX60 I rode a few weeks ago. Whoa! Heavy landing. So these are generally my first laps on a Suzuki RM85 in my entire life. I'm loving it so far, man. As you'd expect with a yellow bike, she turns like a dream. She handles so well. And I've always found that with Suzukis. They love the turns. And this is no different. I'm still figuring out the power. She feels a bit sluggish off the bottom. You can see she picks up nicely though, like that. But I think that's mainly because it's not built for a fully grown man, is it? Obviously. I think if I work that gearbox a little bit more, use the clutch, pound that clutch a little bit more, she'll be singing off the bottom as well. But she does sing nice. So a good sock to her, as you can hear. I'm slowly building up my confidence, wringing the neck off it a little bit more as we go. Oh, yes! The bike that Eli Tomac rode the championship success at Loretta Lynn in 2006. This is the 2006 model, of course. I don't know if I've mentioned that yet. Woo! And even cooler for me, I actually owned a 2006 RM250, if you remember from the channel last year. Singing! So this is like a mini version of that. I do love a Suzuki. And I'm loving this RM85 so far. Let's get some action footage and you guys can help me decide whether this thing belongs in the Hall of Fame. Woo-hoo!
UK, the RM85 hasn't been available for quite a few years. But up until 2023, Suzuki were producing and selling the RM85 in different parts of the world, and I think in some places you can still find stock of them. But with little to no development on the RM85 since 2002, kids' start lines around the world today are packed full of Austrian bikes with a sprinkling of green and blue here and there. But there's no arguing against the quality and performance of those little bikes back in the day. Like I said before, the list of legends that the RM85 helped propel into the moto stratosphere alone is enough for me to happily place this bike into the Moto Hall of Fame. But the amount of fun I've had on that machine in this video just seals the deal for me. I'm putting the Suzuki RM85 into the Hall of Fame. I have absolutely no doubt that with the right rider and a little bit of tweaking, this little rocket ship would still be competitive in a race today. And I think we should put that to the test. What do you reckon?